Welcome to the Cabin Culture Podcast, where we spend a little more time diving deeper into all the fun parts of cabin culture. I like to think of this as both the material and imagined expressions of how cabin lovers, dwellers, builders, and designers wish to live a more simple and authentic life. Today, we're welcoming Mary Bauer, whose journey from luxury baby furniture entrepreneur to Martha Washington reenactor to cabin host shows how authentic passions can turn into unexpected business opportunities. Mary co-founded Brat Decor in the 90s, creating elegant cribs that ended up in celebrity nurseries and even on film sets. But as the business grew overwhelming, she found unexpected inspiration in George Washington, launching a 20-year passion for colonial history that now shapes her work as a reenactor and cabin designer. When her husband Stephen's cancer diagnosis forced them to downsize, they transformed their family retreat into a luxury rental, successfully charging well above market rates thanks to the same attention to detail that fueled their furniture business. In this episode, we explore how Mary's gift for creating emotional experiences translates into hospitality, from authentic materials and storytelling to premium touches like a custom property app. She also shares their latest project, a modern colonial rental with suites named after Revolutionary War figures. Whether you're curious about turning a personal retreat into a rental or how to create premium guest experiences rooted in storytelling, this conversation is full of both inspiration and practical takeaways. Hi, Mary.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. I'm excited to chat with you.
Yeah, it's exciting. I was listening to a lot of your other guests, and it's such a cool podcast. You cover such a wide variety of guests and cabins and experiences, so it was cool.
Thank you. I feel like it's such a life hack because I just really enjoy having the conversations with everyone. And I've learned so much that I'm like, how can I talk more people into doing this with me? Okay, speaking of which, where I actually want to start with you is not cabin related because I
Okay.
used to teach US history. And when I read about your passion for colonial America,
Yeah.
can you please start by telling me a little bit where that started?
Oh my gosh, that is such a weird story. Well, I was born in Baltimore, and that's a colonial city. So there's a lot of history in Baltimore. Fells Point is a very old port. We have Fort McHenry, which was the Battle of
Yeah.
1812, and
Yeah.
my high school was General John Stricker High School, and that or junior high, and that was for the battle. So it was all around. Um, but I think got super impassioned when I was running the business I wrote about before, Brat Decor. So
I want to
I
talk
had
about
these,
that too.
yeah. So Stephen and I started that business when I got pregnant with my first son, and I had we I never had a business like that before. We actually did not have any idea what we were doing. We just
Can you
wanted.
tell people what the business was?
Sure. It was, we actually just closed it, but it's Brat with two T's Decor. And it was it started out as baby furniture strictly. And then it became baby furniture and decor. And we did interiors. And then actually did kids furniture too.
Okay.
So it just grew. And the
That
first,
started when you were pregnant. So you didn't even have kids. You were just planning for one and you
yeah,
launched a business at the same time.
right. I was looking for a crib, and I'm extremely particular about interiors.
You have
And
a great eye.
this was a long time ago, right? So my baby was born in 95. So it was like the end of 94, the beginning of 95. And the choices, I mean, this was before it's hard to imagine. It was before um Pottery Barn, Restoration Hardware Kids.
Yeah.
It was before everything that you know that exists now, that did not exist. So your choices were like cherry, a melamine white Jenny Lind crib, or really that's it.
Yeah.
Maybe some things with stickers of Pooh Bear, and none. I wanted an elegant nursery, and it didn't exist.
Yeah.
Everything was very childish and playful and boring, and I was losing my mind, complaining. We went to New York, we went everywhere, and I just couldn't find anything. So finally, he just got fed up with me one night, and he's like, "Bring me my sketch pad," and we just started sketching this crib, and I'm like, okay, let's do this, let's do that. I want it wrought iron because I spent a lot of time in
Wow.
Paris, and I loved the wrought iron, all the iron work on the subway signs, and I just love that
Yep.
scrolly kind of lyrical
Yes.
stuff. So he started to design all of this, and then I'm like, okay, now we got to make it. And then so that's how it really all started.
Wait,
That's
but I have one more question. How, because I love that you can draw that on paper and design it, but then making a wrought iron crib, was he a welder? Did you hire someone to
no,
do it?
he's not a welder.
All within 9 months.
I know. So there was a small iron foundry in a little place in Mount Airy, Maryland. So he got, and again, no internet. Okay, so there was no internet to download baby crib safety
This is
standards. We
kind of
had to,
hard to imagine.
yeah, we had to go to the library and get like this huge blue book of crib standards, and he designed it. He's a genius. He designed it to the standards to make sure it was safe. And then we went to this place in Mount Airy, and he kind of oversaw, and this welder welded it for us. And it had to be like baby smooth. I mean, because it's a baby, it's not
Right.
lawn furniture. There could be no burrs. And so we got this perfect crib. And then I'm like, okay, now we have a prototype, but it was frightfully expensive. It was like 1,200 bucks. And I'm like, we're not going to be able to sell this in the 90s. You know, you'd have to double it after you add all the hardware
Right.
and the mattress
Right.
supports and the testing and all that jazz. So then there's a whole nother story. So the baby got born. I had the crib, and I was in a baby class where you go around and you have this little fat baby and everybody introduces themselves, and I said, "Hey, my name is Mary. This is my son Sebastian, and I'm trying to start this baby furniture company, but it's difficult and I'm distracted." And this is the most bizarre but weird thing. A woman in the group said, "Oh, my name is da da da. This is Isabel, and my girlfriend, my best friend, Isabel's godmother, lives in San Francisco, and she represents iron factories in South America. Here's her number. Call her."
You're like,
And
what?
I know. And I called, and we got a hold of this sister group. The company was called Metal Mechanica, and it was all by fax, like the fax in the middle of the night, zzz, like 50 pages. Sending all the drawings. They
This is
didn't
so
speak
funny.
English, but we started with them, and they made our furniture for 5 years. And
Wow.
then we moved overseas, and that's when it really got really, really busy. So this is a long way around to how I got involved in Washington's.
Wait,
So
can we pause here? I'm gonna get to Washington's. But first, you're kind of leaving out the part that you have like sold your furniture to some very well-known celebrities.
yeah, I mean, there for a while, we hit a sweet spot like around the 2010 to 2014, 15. We just got this like little we had this like little boutique thing. The very first cribs that Stephen made, he would hand sign because we considered them original pieces of art. But then when
Yeah.
we started to produce them a little bit on a broader scale, that stopped. But yeah, we were fortunate. People liked our stuff. We sold to Jennifer Lopez. She had twins, and they had both our nurseries, and that was on the cover of People magazine, which was cool.
Yeah.
And then we sold to Alec Baldwin, and his nursery with our design was in Architectural Digest. Um, and just there was a lot of like small time people, like people from the housewives, and we did sell to the Kardashians, and they actually went into a baby store in LA and got in the crib that was ours. So the crib got on their show, and the husband jumped in the crib, and it was Courtney. And so we got a big plug for that. That was really
Yeah.
cool. And then we did Mario Lopez's nursery. We were on his show a couple times because we did both their nurseries. We did the whole thing. We did the interior design and all of the furniture. And they actually have become nice friends. And we've known them. Gia now is like a teenager. I'm like, this is too bizarre.
Yeah. I
But
think
then
this is important. We're going to get to the other stuff, but I think this is important because running a rental business, there's some things that overlap. So I think it's valuable for people to know
yeah.
how you got started.
Yeah, it's one of the things about working with pregnant moms is it's a very emotional sale, and it means so much to the people.
Mm.
It's not like you're buying a rug or a coffee table. This is where you're going to put the most precious thing in your life, and that's the baby spends more on hours away from you, the most hours away from you in the crib. That's where, and that crib
Yeah.
has to be their safe haven. So
Yeah.
it was a labor of love, and we actually just loved every single second of it. And we did like extreme home makeover. We have our cribs have been in so many movies. It was in Twilight. It was in the TV show The Amazing Mrs. Maisel. It was on Friends.
Yeah.
It was in Stuart Little. Like there's just so many. So we had a nice run there for a long time, and then everybody wanted minimal, like around 20, I
Uh,
don't know. And we're not minimal. We're very
yeah.
elegant, and that's all back again. So
Yeah.
maximalism is back again.
Yep. All of
Um,
the trends I feel like circle
they do.
regularly. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's hard. You have to then survive through that, the up and the down to get back to
Yeah.
that point.
There was just it just stopped being a good space for us. Number one, we outgrew our demographic, and
Mm,
we did do private label for Restoration Hardware for a while, and we worked with Pottery Barn for a while, and then the competition just got to be too big, and we lost that space.
yeah.
So it's on other things.
Yes, which is what we're here to talk about. Okay, but then take us to the historic colonial America and how this brought you there, because I'm not going to let that one go. I'm very interested in this.
It's such a weird thing. So the business was at first it grew very slowly, and my whole hope was if I could just stay home while the kids are little when they go to kindergarten, if I could make enough money, and then I'll go out and get a job. And look, it took us all those years, but it was slow and it was hard. And then all of a sudden, it just took off, and it was
Mm,
really fast. We were selling to hundreds of boutiques around the world. We had offices in California and in Ho Chi Minh City, in Guangzhou. It was bigger than I was prepared to handle. And I didn't feel adequate. I didn't feel like I could handle this. So I'm a very prayerful person, and I was praying just like I need help. I don't know how to do this. I don't want to mess this up. I don't want to compromise to fit someone else's idea of who we are. And I was just really praying for it. And I just got this thought in my head. It said, study George Washington. And I'm like, that is
huh.
so weird. And I'm like, George Washington, like wooden teeth, cherry tree, Mount Vernon,
Right.
like that's pretty much all I knew.
What does
But
he
I'm
know
like,
about my business?
I'm like, it was the weirdest thing. And I'm like, well, it's weird enough. I want to figure it out.
Yeah.
So I packed the kids up, and Mount Vernon was about an hour away, and we took a tour, and I was very fascinated. And then I just got really fascinated in his life, and I learned a lot about him. And I learned there were, okay, not that I am like George Washington, but he often felt inadequate for the task at his hand.
Yeah.
He didn't have a formal education like his brothers, and he didn't inherit a lot of money and land, and he that was a source of embarrassment and upset for him. He worked really hard to figure it out, and even when the Second Continental Congress said, "Okay, we want you to be the general," he didn't want it. He didn't feel he was up for it. He's like, anybody but me. And
Mhm.
that's exactly how I was feeling. And what I learned is you just be true to yourself, work really hard, stay faithful, and do the best you can. And that's what we did, and it
Yeah.
worked. So
Yeah.
but I just the more I read about him, the and Martha Washington and the struggles that this country went through, I just got it. I don't know. I got like addicted. I have like a mad
Yeah.
crush on George, and it's a problem. And
I love this so much.
yeah, so I even wrote like a book, the lives of them before leading up to him going to Cambridge. I got it edited, and then I'm like, I'm not going to publish it. It was just a fun thing to write. It took 20 years of study to learn, because there's a quiet period in their lives that people don't know anything about.
Yeah.
And that's the part that I love. It's the part where he was a dad, and it was a family man, and
Yes.
he was a farmer, and he was pivoting and trying to figure it out. And lots of things went wrong, and it was really hard. And yeah, just a great man of character, and really, it was just cool. So yeah, then I ended up going to hear this George and Ben Franklin impersonator at this at this history event, and I got to talking with him, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, you know so much about George Washington." I'm like, and my husband's like, "It's a problem." And then he goes, "Would you ever consider doing Martha? I had a Martha, and she's retired." I'm like, "Oh, give me a call." And then he did. We moved from Baltimore to Virginia about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. And so the Virginia 250, so America's getting ready to celebrate the 250th. And I think it's every colonial state has a it has a 250 celebration. So we've been working up to that, doing a lot of like live history events
Yeah.
and just to try to educate people a little bit more
Yeah.
on our history. And there's going to be one here in Winchester. We're in historic Winchester where George Washington had an office and it still stands. And yeah, so
Oh my
it's
gosh,
called,
please send me details. I have never taken my husband. Back when I taught US history, this is how I started doing video production. I would go on weekends to cool places that we were learning about, and I
yeah.
would just film with like a very basic point and shoot camera and then edit it into something that I would show my students. So I went to like Gettysburg for one of their remembrance days, and I dressed in like my mom hand sewed me like an entire outfit. So my interest is a little bit later. It's more in like the Civil War and like Reconstruction era is what I'm most interested in. But I think if people learned, to your point, the less exciting stories in between the big historical moments that
Yeah.
humanize the people and the time period, we don't have time for that in history class, but that's where it gets addicting, right?
Yeah, that's where you can relate. It's
Yeah.
hard to relate to these larger than life heroes. Well, Winchester, this is really known for Civil War. I mean, there's so
Yep.
much history right here. Like if
Yeah.
you walk one block, it's like there's a big hotel that stood, and then they have like a little thing you can read, and it has all these like Civil War soldiers hanging out the
Yeah.
windows and stuff. So,
That's so
yeah,
cool.
that this place is a sweet little town filled with history. Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
weird, but
We're
when you
in Hillsborough, North Carolina, which is more
ah,
revolutionary time period, but
there
has a
you go.
ton of history in our town. We live in a house not built that long ago, but on a street with tons of historic houses and an old inn and like
I
it's
love
just
it.
yeah, it's just fascinating.
Hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
so that's the long way around, but yeah.
I love that. Please send me the details on the 250 events and also any photos you have. I love this so much. When I saw that on your pre-interview, I was just like, "Oh my god, we have to start by talking about this."
He was like, "You're not going to say that." I'm like, "Well, she asked for an interesting fact."
Yes. Oh my god, and I'm so glad you gave me that one because I don't get to do as much with history anymore, but I still find
Yeah,
it so fascinating.
me too. It's like
And
time travel.
it totally is. And there's so many good shows out these days that like help you understand. Like even Outlander was really helpful. I didn't learn European history at all and learned
Yeah.
through that show. It got me interested through human stories of like,
Yes.
oh, what was happening in Europe. And then they moved and there's scenes in Hillsborough, North Carolina. Like it's just crazy how they're so well done that they
I know.
help to like rope you in.
I
And
know.
Hamilton did a really good job of getting people interested in it in a different way that people
Yeah.
hadn't engaged with in the past.
And a whole different demographic. Like he lit
That's
them
right.
up, which was
That's right.
cool.
That's right. Yeah. So we're starting to see that again. I am curious how you went, like in what phase of your business did you decide to create your first property? Was that after you'd ended the business? Take us to that transition
No,
point.
so we actually just ended the business about a month ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was just we had shut down our shops and we had stopped selling to other stores, but we still had an online business.
Yeah.
And we streamlined. We got rid of all the interior design, all the private label stuff, and we just sold like the iron line that we started with that we
Yep.
loved. But it just was not worth our time anymore. It was just not great anymore. So I think like so the house was finished in 2007. I think we bought the property, I want to say in 2004. So and we it took us a while to design and build to figure it out. Maybe 2003. So the kids were like 6 and 8 or 5 and 7. They were little boys and we were running ragged, like just we didn't have time for each other. It was just, you know how I don't know if you have little kids, but when you have little kids, it's just all they got a million things going on and
Yeah.
school and plays and band and Boy Scouts and whew, and I just felt like we were missing it. I felt like we were missing it. We were missing each other, and I just wanted to slow everything down because
Yeah.
and I didn't. I know how businesses work. You get lightning in a bottle, and it can come and it can go. So I
Right.
didn't want to like end the business. I wanted to
Yeah.
give it everything, but I needed moments away.
Yeah.
So we started to look for a vacation property, somewhere that was away from it all. And so the parameters were, we didn't want to drive more than 3 hours, because you get out of school at 3, you can be there by 6. That
Yeah.
was the goal.
Yep.
And Steve, and the second parameter was it had to have some water feature, because I think water is magic.
Yeah. I agree.
And then so Steven said, "Hey, how about a log cabin?" And because he's born and raised and grew up in South Africa, and he had a fascination with the Western frontier. I gotta send you some funny pictures of him. Like, they thought it was a cowboy hat. It was a sombrero. He didn't know the difference. He looked so silly. But he's in South Africa with guns and a sombrero, and he just, the whole cowboy thing. And I'm like, that's cool. That would be great. Let's look at West Virginia. It's
Yeah.
close and it's
Yeah.
cheap and
Yeah.
it's beautiful. And
This is such an interesting reminder that like the Western frontier and cowboy culture is so American. Like
it
unique. I mean,
is.
there are versions of it, but the way in which we've done it is a uniquely American part of our identity. So if you're from South Africa,
Yeah.
some of the nuance might be missed.
It's romantic. He's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, he didn't know. They couldn't get real cowboy stuff. I'm like, you look so funny. He's like, man, that was cool. I'm like, okay, cool. That's what we'll go with. But so when my parents split, I was 7. My dad was from West Virginia,
Okay.
and my mom was actually from North Carolina.
Really?
Yeah, she's a Lumbee Indian from Lumberton.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I spent time in both cities. My mom lived in Baltimore, and when my dad did, but then he moved back to West Virginia when they divorced. So I spent a lot of my childhood in West Virginia. I was very comfortable with it, and I loved it. I mean, I got my first gun when I was 9, shot my first squirrel when I was 10, got my first deer when I was 16. Like, I really love that
Yeah.
West. I loved it, and so I'm like, cool. And we just found this little piece of land, and it was like 2 hours and 45 minutes. It had a river running along the back, so it's like a pie shape.
The
The
piece of
land is like a,
land.
and the large pie at the bottom is all river.
Wow.
It's over 1,000 feet. It's really pretty. And the price was right, so we bought the land, and then we just started designing, and that was so much fun.
But
I
this
think
is at a time to, again, like this is at a time before really Pinterest.
right.
Before now, it sounds like you and your husband have just a strength for design in general. You don't necessarily need a bunch of inspiration. But I just want to remind people like this is before cabin culture was as public as it is now. So you were
Yeah.
really creating something for you.
Right. And people thought we were insane
Really?
because the little development that we bought in, it's called Ice Mountain. And because it sits at the base of Ice Mountain, which is this giant natural resource that has little caves with ice in them, and the ice is there all year long. And it's a natural preserve, and it's right on the other side of the river, so no one will ever build. But this little community was a campground in the 70s, and they had little original old timey log cabins. But they were really modest structures,
Yeah.
like tiny, like little, maybe 800, 900 square feet, a little bedroom, an open room with a fireplace and like a little half kitchen, and that's it. And we're building this crazy house. I mean, they're like, what? Like, here? Why? West Virginia? What are you doing?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this is what we're building. And we sourced all over the world. We have like, and Steven is a genius. So anything I can think, he can make a reality. Just some examples like the banister going up the stairs. We found it. It's an Eastern European balcony that we bought at a vintage shop, and he wretched it and changed it and turned it into a balcony,
He
and
did
it's
all that himself. I'm looking at pictures right now.
yeah, he did all of that. He did so much, and it took us a long time to build because we wanted it. We wanted it to be a certain way. So some of the furniture in the house is old Brat Decor furniture. So if you can see the red twins room, we did iron
Yep.
beds, but the
Uh-huh.
dressers, that was from our line, and the day beds on the porch, the 4 iron beds, we saw those are our line as well. Um, so we do have some of Brat Decor stuff in there, but
Can I ask you
all
a
the
question really quick going back?
sure,
I want
sure.
to spend more time on the interior design. But before we get there, when you first built this, was it just for your family or were you thinking that you were going to rent it at the same time? Because I do think that plays a role in decisions that you make and design things. And I'm just curious who you were
Yeah.
designing for.
Yeah, no, we never thought we'd rent it.
Okay, it was
We
just for you.
it was just for us. And had we thought about renting, we would have designed slightly differently, which
Hmm.
we're building a second one and we're
Yep.
designing differently.
Yep.
So
I'll
yeah,
be curious to hear about those later. I want to talk about the design of
yeah,
this one first, but then I'll be curious to hear what's changed.
yeah. Well, that could be a whole nother show. But
Yeah.
so when we bought this, when we built this, we had like a bedroom upstairs for the boys, and then we did a second bedroom because one of these days they weren't going to want to sleep together anymore.
Right.
And
Right.
then we just had a little tiny bedroom for like if Steven's mom came or
Yep.
whatever, and then a bathroom upstairs, which one bathroom for 3 bedrooms probably is not what you would do if you were renting.
Yeah. I
Um,
have strong feelings about that though. I think that's a part of cabin culture is
you
sharing a
do?
bathroom and waiting in line to like brush your teeth. For me, that's like part of the you're not at your home, right? It doesn't need to
Right.
be built for everyday use. You're there to like be together. But that's
To
a
be
person
together.
but when you're renting, I get it. It's something that people might complain about. But I think it's part of cabin culture.
Yeah. So one of the best things about the cabin, which is total cabin culture, is the wraparound screened-in porch with the door that
Yes.
slams. You open it up, and it's an old wood screen door, and it's I
Yes.
love that. That's one of
I
my
totally
favorite
agree.
things.
We literally talked about this in the last podcast episode with a guy who is a cabinologist. So he's like an
Uh,
expert in studying this. And he also feels strongly that a slamming door, and I feel the same way at our cabin. We have a slamming screen door. And Sean
gotta
was
have
like,
it.
do we want to put like a latch on this or something that slows it down? And I was like, absolutely not.
Right. That's the magic. That's one
That's
of the
right.
surprises that you don't anticipate.
That's
But when it
right.
happens, you're like, ah, yeah, I
I
get
totally
that.
agree. I totally agree. Okay, I'm so intrigued looking at these pictures, which we'll edit in here so folks can see it if they're watching YouTube, because this is a new build. And it is so hard to believe when I look at these pictures because it genuinely feels like it came out of, I don't know, the 1800s. Even from the outside, it looks like the house they built in Outlander. Like it looks so
Yeah. Well,
genuinely old.
the reason it looks like that is because the logs are 120 years old.
Okay.
So we bought, this is a funny story. When we were, in our research phase, we found this company that buys old barns and old cabins and takes them apart and resells the logs. And they had a couple of homes that they had done in Tennessee. So we took a little trip to Tennessee and looked at it. The company was from Tennessee, and we decided, oh, this is what we want. I don't want new logs. I want everything old. So we bought this Stephen designed the house, and then we bought the logs that would fit the design.
Mhm.
And they were from Tennessee, and they came back to West Virginia. And the funny thing is, they came out of a farmhouse in West Virginia originally.
Really?
So they came back home. Yeah, but
I love that.
they were like from the 1860s, 1870s. That's the log. And if you look at them, they're gigantic. You can't
Yes.
get those worn logs that age anymore.
Right.
So the whole structure is the old logs, and then everything else is wood. But here's another neat fact about the house. After we had purchased the land and we were in the design phase, that we had a wind event. I don't know if it was a tornado, but it knocked out a mess of trees all over the property. So we took those trees and we had them all planed into boards, and that's what we built the house out of. Every single wall, every single closet is solid wood. There's not a piece of drywall in the house, not one.
No, that's what's so when you look at it, I think that's what gives it that feel. But different rooms still have distinct, like I don't know if you painted some of them, but they have like different personality to them, but
Yeah.
all of them have personality.
Yeah. So the one room that has the 4-poster bed upstairs, that's cherry wood. So we call that the cherry
Okay.
room. And we just sealed it with a satin varnish, and all that red came out.
Yeah.
Um, the other room, which is kind of tiny, I just white painted it all white to make it
Yeah.
feel a little bit bigger. But then the kids' room, I really loved the idea of the old, like, West Virginia red barns, and
Yeah.
I tried to find the old barn wood to panel the room, but they all were painted with lead paint. And
Oh,
I was like, well, that's a non-starter, right?
yeah.
So Stephen took the boards and he painted them red and he propped them in a field for a year. And they got rain and they got sun and they got snow and they got wind and they got that perfect, like, patina.
Yeah.
So and I have pictures of that too, where they're just propped up in the field
Yeah.
while we were doing other things. And then you put them up and it's the perfect red barn look, but
Oh my God,
no
it looks
lead
so
paint.
good.
No
And the
lead paint.
beds, the beds in there are yours from your
The
company.
the beds aren't there. We bought old vintage iron beds for all
Okay.
of the rooms except downstairs, but the dressers are ours, the two
Okay.
red
Yep.
dressers. Yeah.
Okay. Got that.
And then all the closets. So that closet is a little shutter. It's an old wooden shutter that we got. And then in the other two bedrooms, we used screen doors and made the closets like
Ugh.
screen. It's like it's all screens because the rooms aren't large, and I didn't want them to be cut off with a big closet. So you can
Yeah.
see through, but not so much. So it gives you like an
Yeah.
airy feeling.
That's
It's
such a
just
good
a
idea.
it was a
I
and they're all old. We've got all this stuff from salvage yards and estate sales and by the road things we found, and yeah.
If you're dreaming about a cabin build, or are in the midst of a build, or you just bought a place and are getting ready to host for the very first time, regardless of where you are, sometimes you just need a little help along the way. Shared experiences from someone who's been there, advice from someone who's learned a lot of lessons the hard way. That's me. Or a cheerleader as you finish up. All of these reasons are exactly why I started offering cabin consultations to our Instagram followers and friends who could use some specific one-on-one help. I can't promise to solve all your problems, but I can promise to be transparent about our build costs and process, our organization and project management systems, our favorite and least favorite tools for renting, how we market, and how we found ourselves with almost 80,000 Instagram followers and 100% occupancy in our first year of hosting at Cozy Rock. So if that sounds like it might help you, feel free to visit us at staycozycabin.com or on Instagram at Cozy Rock Cabin and sign up for a time to chat there. Okay, I have to ask, because this is how I think, if I'm going to put my judgment on cabin culture, this is how I think cabins should be built. But even I didn't do it that way, right? Because it's so much extra work to
Yeah.
source everything differently. And I'm just wondering, Mary, you are raising two boys, you
Yeah.
are running like a wildly successful and growing business, and you are building this cabin at the same time. Like, how did you manage all of those pieces? How did you do this?
Well, one good thing is we had a lot of time. It was like 3 years from the time we bought the land till we actually had to move in. So it just became fun. We would take
Huh.
weekends and just ride up and down in the country and look for yard sales, estate sales, barn sales. And the kids got very good at it. And they always got to get some weird, dirty, vintage Star Wars toy. So they were on a hunt while I was on
Yeah.
a hunt. They've got
Yeah.
quite a collection to this day of
I love
old
that.
toys. So we just kind of made it a fun thing. And
Where
it
did
was
you
great.
store all this stuff in the meantime?
Well, at our company, we worked at a big old 30,000 square foot brick
Okay.
and wood warehouse downtown, like one of the old warehouses, and we just cleared a part of it and it became my staging. And then
Okay.
and I traveled a lot for work, and I did a lot of trade shows, and we had design studios in Dallas and Atlanta and LA. And so I could go there, and because there's some things you want old and there's a lot of things you want new.
Yeah.
So I could just, find really cool little trinkets and things, and that was fun too. And that I could kind of fold into work.
Yeah. And so I guess the answer to that is like it has to be the perfect storm of you either have the resources like an amazing warehouse or the
Yeah.
money to pay a storage unit
Yeah.
and the luxury of time. I think a lot of people listening, and this is how I was with Cozy Rock, I wanted to get it built fast because I couldn't afford to not rent it. And so I
Right.
needed to get people in there to start paying the mortgage to make it doable.
For
And
sure.
those constraints are real. And so you can do some of these things, but it is hard to do all of these things quite in the way that you did, because I just feel like there's so many, you were able to do so much with this space, but 3 years gives you a little bit more time to do that.
Yeah, and you can be super thoughtful. And we made some decisions. So when we were first young and poor and married, and before we had businesses and we didn't know what we were doing, we bought a really little tiny house. We bought a 1932 brick colonial in Baltimore on almost the wrong side of the tracks, just like maybe this way on the good side of the tracks, and it was really cheap. And we made a conscious decision that we were going to stay in that house. And
Yeah.
instead of, move up, a lot of people move up to bigger, better neighborhoods and bigger, better house. The three of us shared a bathroom forever. I mean, the four of us with three bedrooms all had one bathroom. I mean, we just
Yeah.
stayed in this little house. And I said, rather than move up, let's build a second home and
Yeah.
have that experience. So we made that decision, and that was our compromise.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we,
I think behind the scenes, there's often a lot of people making decisions like that you don't see. So we make a
yeah,
lot of assumptions. But I
yeah,
think in order to pull something like this off, knowing here was the compromise that we made on our day-to-day life
yeah,
helps
yeah,
understand how you make that possible.
for
At what
sure.
point did you go from just using it as your family to thinking about renting it? And what was the prompt for that?
Well, it's kind of a sad prompt. So in 2016, Stephen was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Oh,
And so at this point, Sebastian was in college. He was born in 95, so I guess he was 21. Rafe was in high school. And the business had already kind of peaked, and it was kind of on the downturn. And when he got sick, I we ran the company together. And when he was in the hospital, we both left the business
yeah.
because I didn't all I cared about was just being with him the
Right.
whole time. So
Right.
I stayed in the hospital, I stayed home, I didn't go back to work. My team is like, what's going on? And by the time we got back to work, I mean, the business wasn't doing great before we left. But when we got back, it was on life support. It was in bad shape. And I just didn't care. I just had
Yeah.
bigger fish to fry.
Right.
So it was 2000. He got sick in May of 2016. And I think I got back to the office. It was like October. And I just said, we're shutting down. So we just made a decision to shut everything down. So we ended our lease at the end of the year. We fire saled everything that was left. We moved, like I said, just some of the really quick, easy sellers to a storage unit. And I let my staff go. I kept my two right hands on probably through the end of the year to help us transition.
Yeah.
And we just did an all online business and just went really, really small. But at that
Yeah.
same time, all of our all of our cash kind of ended.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we also had another rental at the beach. So it was just like, what can we liquidate? And
Yeah.
we're like, let's get rid of that condo. Let's get rid of that at the beach. That was another rental that we had. And I'm like, I don't want to lose the cabin because it was such a heart project. Stephen
Yeah.
built it with his bare hands. He and his dad and my boys built that tree house. It's called The Nest, and they all signed it.
Yeah.
I'm like, this house, my nephew got married there. My sister was cremated there. It was
Mm.
just the heartbeat of our family, and I didn't want to lose it.
Yeah.
I also didn't want to rent it because I was so attached, but it came down to we weren't using it. The boys were gone. We were working, and I'm like, so Steven actually took all of that on. He's like, I'm gonna work. We depersonalized it, and we started renting. And we did not expect it to rent. I mean, it's in the middle of nowhere. And we had a crazy mortgage, and he's like, I'm just renting it for what I want to get. And it
Right.
was 4 or 5 times higher than any cabin in our vicinity, and it just booked.
Really?
By the time we got around to it, it was like 2018 is when we actually got when we settled Brat, and he got healthy enough to take on a new business. And 2019, I think, was the first year we got it up and running, and it was near the end. And then COVID hit, and we were
Yeah.
booked solid.
That was the best time to own a rental, that's for
I'm
sure.
like, what is going on? I mean, it
I
just
had
went.
never seen numbers like that before.
No, I mean, we were like 98% occupied for
Yeah.
2020. It was
Yeah.
mental. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, wait a minute. This isn't a bad gig. So
And it
and
was
then
at the prices that he was like, this is what I want to get. Oh,
yeah, and it was crazy. I mean, it was high, but that's
yeah.
what we had. I mean, if we didn't get that, it really wasn't worth it because it's not
Yeah.
going to make a difference.
Yeah.
So, and we thought it was worth it. So,
And
and
apparently other people
people
agreed.
rented it. Yeah. So it was really great. And then,
Wait,
we
can I
had
ask a question? Was this just through Airbnb? Did you do it yourselves? How did you first dip your toe into the rental?
yeah. So again, my genius husband, who he built our website in 1996 before websites existed for Brat Decor. Our first sale was international online in
Wow.
1997. I mean,
Wow.
so he built a website, he made an app, and he also got on the platforms. So,
Okay.
and
So he
if
did
I'm
all
doing,
of the things.
he did
This
it
is
all.
where I think having the background that you all did in running such a large business,
Yeah,
you immediately, when you decided to rent this, I suspect, immediately started to view it as a business. Whereas I think a
absolutely.
lot of people are like, oh, I'm just going to throw it on Airbnb. And this is fine. I'm not saying there's a right or a wrong way, but I'm
Right.
saying I don't want to overlook that success probably had something to do with the fact that from day one, you all were thinking about it like a business and had the experience to implement it immediately.
Yeah, and we didn't we did high end photography and high end drones. Like I just treated it like I was making a catalog for my business.
Yeah.
And and when we built it though, we as I said, we built it for ourselves. So we already put like a lot of luxury touches. We had steam showers and we had heated floors and heated towel racks and we had Stephen hand built our plunge pool that's heated. It's all hand tiled. So we had all this stuff already in it, and we just leveraged it. And other people weren't doing cabins in West Virginia to that standard. So we
Yeah.
really were
I
distinct.
would argue that most people anywhere weren't doing them. Like when in looking at your pictures, that pool, that outside area, that is
Yeah,
becoming more common now
yeah,
because I think of things like Pinterest and Instagram, but at that time, I don't think people were doing the luxury
no.
cabin quite like that.
And it was a hard sell, but then once people got it, it became an easy sell because we really didn't have any competition. And
Mm,
that cabin's 2 hours from DC. And DC, it's a great market, and they want to get out of the city.
yes.
And the water feature helps, and the hiking helps. And
Yeah.
he was like, no one is going to want to come here. There is nothing to do. I said, I kind of think that's the point.
Yes. Yes.
I,
And this was people in COVID. That's what we tapped into in COVID
yeah,
is people
yeah,
started to realize, wait, we can't go where there's a lot of people, which might have been our instinct in the past. And then they started talking about it and sharing it and seeing the magic that was nothingness.
yeah. And we made a decision not to put a TV in. There's no TV. We do have a movie screen and a projector, and you can stream movies, but I didn't want my boys on screens. I wanted them outside and dirty.
Yeah.
And boy, did they accommodate me. Every day they came in, their hair is like scarecrows. They're covered in dirt and worms out of their pocket. And that's perfect. That's exactly what I
Yeah.
wanted.
Yeah. What did you find when you started renting it? Obviously, again, you were coming at it from a business perspective, so I'm sure the revenue was great. What else did you find surprising about that phase of transitioning to rentals versus just family use?
Surprising. I was surprised that when we booked it for ourselves and I went there, it still felt like home and it didn't feel
Mm,
like a hotel. I
mhm.
thought I would feel like a guest in my own home, and I didn't. It still felt like home, and I didn't have any trouble falling asleep in my bed. And even though there was somebody weird in my bed I didn't know the week before, it didn't matter. So
Yeah.
I thought I would be more bothered by that, but I'm just like, I love hotels. Why? It's
Yeah.
what am I doing?
Yeah.
So that was a surprise. I think another surprise was how much I loved creating spaces that people went and then had experiences with their family like we had with ours.
Yeah.
Like there was a three generation, and their grandmom was celebrating like her 95th birthday, and the grandmother wrote us a letter that brought tears to my eyes about how
Mm,
much it meant. And she's like, I haven't had my family together all at once where people weren't on the phone trying to do business and kids weren't going to 50,000 sports. She's like, it was the best birthday gift. I bawled my face off. It was,
yeah.
and I'm like, people, the world needs this. And then
Yes.
it almost became like a calling, and I could not do enough for my guests. And she was like, whoa, it's a business.
Mhm.
I'm like, it's a business, but maybe I should just put fresh flowers. It's their birthday, or, and
Yeah.
so we do this big welcome gift with s'mores and cards and champagne and all this stuff. And we just want them to, just for a moment, step out of the busy, busy life and really just embrace the togetherness that this place can bring. The spaces are designed so that you can gather and you can just be. And people respond and they really love it. I people coming, families coming back now 4 or 5 years in a row, and
Yeah.
it's very it's tender. It's a lot like when I was helping people with their first nursery. It's that emotional space and time in your life where I think that's where real life happens.
Yeah.
You just kind of quiet down and focus on what matters.
Yeah. When you said that about your first business, about it being people in a very like emotional, almost vulnerable time of their life,
Yeah.
I immediately thought that's what it feels like hosting
Yeah.
guests. But I think with that can sometimes come the challenge or tension of what your husband said, but it's a business. How
Yeah.
do you all navigate the wanting to do everything you can for your guests and make their experiences extraordinary? And also, it's a business. I think that's hard for so many of us.
It is. And I'm also like, I love to travel. So I kind of think what would what would make this experience, and you have to I am constantly thinking, how can I make this better for people? Like, how can it be better this year than it was last year? How can I keep them
Mm.
coming back?
That's the hard
And
part about repeat guests. You want it
yeah,
to be as great as it was the first time, but how do I delight you the second time and the fifth time? How do I keep
yeah.
surprising you?
Yeah. And so I just kind of like one of the ways we've done that is we've looked at bringing other businesses in that can serve the guests. So,
Mhm.
like, you can book a masseuse, you can book a private chef, you can book a tour guide to take you up the mountain. And then we have all of these things available, and people can access that. And then,
Yeah.
I'm working with the tourism, like tomorrow West Virginia Tourism's coming out and doing a shoot at our place for to promote West Virginia. And having all the resources accessible, and with the app it's really great because they can look at festivals going on, or
Wait, you have an entire
farmers.
app for your property
Yeah.
that
And
folks can download?
yeah, they can download it. It gives them it's the whole operating manual for the entire property. It's where you can go to eat. It's festivals in the area. All the things you can do in the area, and a calendar of events. It's
And they
hospitals
can
and
book
fire.
through that?
You get it after you book.
Okay.
So yeah, and a lot of it's on the website, but not all the how tos for the property. So we had a guest say, I'm just gonna test this. How to, and he's asking this all these obscure questions. And Stephen, again, my genius husband, had thought of every single question. He's like, I can't beat you. That's everything's on here. So yeah, he built an entire app that's specific to our property.
I have never heard of that before.
Oh, well, that's him. He's a genius like that. He
Yeah.
thinks of stuff. He's very anything that you can design. He designed my wedding dress and my wedding ring and the baby
Wow.
crib and the apps and the websites and anything
What
you
is
can
his
build.
background? What did he study?
I don't know. He's a genius. He went to art school in Cape
Okay.
Town, but he also simultaneously did carpentry carpentry course. So he learned how to make furniture, and he's an art. His brother was an artist. His brother had a whole suite of stores in South Africa with his own designs. He was an international cartoonist. His
Wow.
dad is just like a brilliant builder. It's just their
Yeah.
DNA. I don't know.
Wow.
They're just
Okay.
all
Interesting.
geniuses.
Because
Yeah.
all of these are like different categories. He's like building apps, but also designing furniture, but also running a company. Another
Yeah.
thing I noticed on your website that I've never seen someone do, and Mary, I have to tell you, I've looked at a lot of cabins. We've been doing this podcast for almost 3 years. I've talked to a
Wow.
lot of people. It takes a lot for something to have never seen. You have a live calendar link on your website
Yeah.
where if people need help planning their adventure, they could just book a time. Is that with you? Is that with
Yeah.
what? Who is that with? You'll
That's
just
just yeah, well, we used to do that for Brat Decor. Like if you wanted a private, I would give everybody a free like a design consultation.
yeah,
And if you wanted me to come out, now you got to put some money up. But I would
right,
look at your room and I would talk to you and you could send in photos and I would give ideas. So I
yeah,
thought, well, let's do the same thing here. If they want to know, hey, what's going on whatever, it's my girlfriend's 25th birthday. How can I make it special? What's in
yeah,
the area? And I would help them. Well, how about a private wine tasting in Romney? And, there's a flower farm that would be really cool. And
yeah.
so I'll just work with them individually to create a custom experience, whatever they want. And if
And they
I,
don't have to pay for that.
nope,
That's
that's
just
just
part of
free.
what you offer.
Yeah, I just want them to have an amazing experience. And
Yeah.
nobody takes advantage of it though.
I
I've
was
only
just
ever,
going to ask how many people sign up for it.
only one. And it was a
Ever?
couple and yeah, but it's only been on for maybe 8 months or so.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, I'm like, come on, I'm here. Let me help you.
Right.
It's gonna be great. Yeah.
But I can see why people don't, because they're so used to booking things without that interaction. But
Yeah.
even you just having it there though sent messages to me as the viewer of your website about what you value and what you're putting into the experience. So I feel like even if nobody signs up for it, there's immense value there. And
Good.
for folks who are listening and might be interested in something like that, I also use Calendly for business. You can put parameters around it. You can
Yeah.
say, I will only allow 2 of these a week or this time of day or whatever. So you can control that a little bit.
Right.
But when I saw that on there, I was like, wow, they're serious about hospitality. And I think
Yeah.
that's an important message. Everything we do is sending messages about what we believe, what we value. And when I saw that, I've never seen it. And I was like, wow, that it stands out.
Yeah, and I just think that it's that whole like personal thing. You can curate your experience. What do you want to do,
Yeah.
and how can we make it the greatest? Because West Virginia is kind of hidden. If you don't know things, you're not going to find them. You're not going to
Yeah.
know there's an awesome moonshine tasting place, but you got to go down this rickety dirt road and there's
Right.
a scary looking metal gate. Just go through it. It's fine.
Right. Don't be worried about it.
Don't be worried about the thousands of skulls on the barn. Go on in. He's
It's
awesome.
fine. It's fine. Yeah. But that's why I think people travel like these experiences,
Hmm.
because they want you to take them into your world. That was like the original value proposition of Airbnb. And I feel like
Yeah.
that's what you're doing.
Yeah, and there's a whole gambit. I mean, right? It's Airbnb, it's like a room for the night, or it's an entire experience. It can
Right.
be anything.
Right.
And we've talked to another person that approached us to manage our property, and Stephen is loath to let go of the management because it's so personal, and that sets us
Same.
apart. When it's just somebody somewhere, it's just not the same. But
I agree.
his he had a totally different approach to cabins, and I found it very interesting. He's a numbers guy. He's a money guy, and for him it's all numbers. So
Yeah.
he doesn't care about the personal touch. It's how many can I get in, how many can I get out, how cheap can I do it? And he's got like 100 and he's making so much money. I'm like, and Steve was like, why
Yeah.
don't we do that? I'm like,
I know.
you got to stick to what you do best. That's
I
not who we
know.
are.
I
That
agree.
and I wouldn't enjoy that. I enjoy
Right.
what we're doing. I'm loving it.
And that's the whole point of this podcast, to be honest. Like, that is our audience. I got a pitch the other day for someone to be on the podcast who was like, I've invested in this many properties and made this much money. They followed up a couple times. And finally, I was just like, I don't feel like you're the right fit for our audience, because that's
Yeah.
just not where my heart is. And I just think there aren't enough resources for people who really want to do it in a personal, kind of over the top way. Like, I
Yeah.
remember I made a reel about our yearly expenses, and in year one, we spent a lot on art and decor, and we got a lot of pushback on that. Like, what the heck? Why are you spending this
Yeah.
much on it? And I'm just like, when it's a passion project, those numbers are like, well, do we have the money in the account? Okay, then let's do it. And that's the only
Right.
question I'm asking.
That's it. I mean, we put amazing art in our cabin. So we did, if you know who Andy Leibovitz is, she's a
Yeah.
famous
Oh,
photographer and she
yeah.
does Rolling Stones. So we did her nursery and we did custom work for her and we became good buddies with her and she's lovely. So in addition to paying us, she told us that we could pick out any portrait she's ever done and she was going to sign it to us. And I picked June and Johnny, and it's in the living room, and it's signed to Mary from Annie Leibovitz.
Oh
And
my God.
Steven picked Arnold Schwarzenegger on a white stallion, and it is hilarious.
Is that
And
in the
they're like,
cabin too?
Yeah, and they're like, my family's like, "You're leaving that in the cabin?" I'm like, "Yes, this is where we always saw it, and we want our guests to experience this level of art.
Yeah,
It's important, and I don't think anybody's gonna steal it off the wall."
I
And
know.
yeah,
I
it
know.
has my name on it. So,
That's right. That's one of those things people worry about when they first start renting, but you quickly realize like
yeah.
people aren't here to steal things,
Yeah.
especially we put art on our wall and I just trust that it will be there.
Yeah.
Not Annie Leibovitz art
Yeah.
though. I might want that in my home just to be like, look at the life I've lived. Annie Leibovitz has signed art on my wall.
Yeah, that was it was really, really cool. And the June and Johnny, I just always loved because he's like looming in the background. He's almost a shadow figure, and she's there, and they have such a legendary love story. And I love
Yeah.
Johnny Cash. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I can't believe we only have 5 minutes left, but I want to ask about your next cabin. How long have you been working on it? What is the vision and what makes this next one different from the first one?
okay, how long have we been working on it? I think we bought the property in 2022. We started building, I think, in the spring of 2023. We're still not finished because Steven is taking on more and more and more, you know, bespoke things in the house, and it's taking forever. The I have so much George Washington memorabilia. It's insane, and my house isn't big enough. So I called it the Revolution,
Yes.
and it is going to be
I have to go here.
it's going to be like a historical, not it's I'm calling it a modern colonial. So it's built like a colonial house, but a modern twist to it. There's so much really cool, an entire library of all historical books of the Revolution. I don't have anything except for a few over 1930. So it's all like this vintage library, beautiful artwork, all from the time period. I have signed pieces and stuff I've been collecting for 20 years. So it's just kind of like that, but it's very modern on the inside
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So we wanted to do that same thing. So it is super glamorous. Like our cabin is very sweet, but it's very cabin.
Yeah.
This doesn't have logs. It's not wood like that. I I painted, all the rooms are painted, but we do have old beams upstairs. So I wanted the first floor like colonial period, like Mount Vernon. The first floor is where you entertained your guests. So we have like 24-inch gold, like crown molding, 13-foot ceilings. We have a 30-foot glass opening that completely collapses, goes out onto a deck to a pool, and it's just you're on a peninsula and it's nothing but trees all the way around. There is a river, but it's about a 5-minute walk. You can walk. It's a bigger
Yeah.
river. It has there's three king suites, and every room is named. So the first one is the Washington suite, of course. It is done in buff and navy because that was his uniform. And it has a big soaking tub and a huge steam shower. Every room has a steam shower. Every bathroom has a steam shower. So there's three king suites, and then there's a bunk room. And that's where the soldiers slept. They don't get a steam
Uh,
shower because it's probably going to be for the kids, and kids
yeah.
can get burned on steam. So I didn't put
I
that in there.
love this theme.
so the other king suite is General Daniel Morgan, and then you got to have a good villain. So I have Peggy Shippen. I have her, who is Benedict Arnold's wife and a horrible
Yeah.
turncoat. So I have her suite. And then I have the British Officers Club, which is going to be the media room, and it's has no windows, and it's just going to have a big screen that you can watch movies. And yeah, and then we got an 1865 stone Federalist floor to ceiling fireplace that Stephen is gonna. We bought it in pieces, and he's going to recreate it, and it's going to go from the floor to the ceiling, 13 feet high.
I
And
cannot wait to see this. What is your launch date?
who knows? We took that off of ourselves because we blew every single one. So
Yeah.
we're just waiting because he built the pool, he built the deck. The pool is going to have, so he's also engineering something that doesn't exist. So the great thing about the cabin we have, Mountainaire, the pool is beautiful and it's heated, but it gets cold, so you can't do it in the winter. So we have a
Yeah.
hot tub.
Yep.
He's sick of the switchover. So this pool, he is engineering to be a 12-month pool. So the insulation and all of these things are built. And then so we have a deck, and then the deck's going to slide, and the pool is going to be there, and then the deck goes back, and you can't tell that there's a pool underneath. And that's got to be insulated. It's got to be lightweight so it works on the pulley. So it's taken a little bit longer.
Okay,
Also,
so understandably, there's
yeah,
a little bit of a longer timeline.
yeah. And the things that he needs to do to build it don't exist. So he's kind of fabricating it.
Right.
It's a whole thing.
Right. I am so excited. I mean, I love the one that you've built, and it is like truly traditional cabin, but I'm very excited to see what comes next.
Yeah, and it's right in the heart of it's like 20 minutes from Berkeley Springs, which was the old town of Bath. So the
Mhm.
Indians used it for hot springs, and George Washington and Martha, and lots of people used to come and take of the waters for health reasons. So there's a lot of history, and George Washington was all over this area surveying for Lord Fairfax. So there's the Washington Trail, like George Washington's everywhere. And I'm going to put George Washington may have slept here because it's possible. Not in the house, but on the land.
Right.
So
Right.
we're gonna do that.
I love that. I love that. Mary, I
Yeah.
can't wait to see this. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. This
Oh my
was
gosh.
fascinating. We covered so much ground, I feel like.
I feel like you are a kindred spirit. We have to hang up and get on the phone because
I know. Well, I'm
not
gonna
done
come
with you.
as soon as this house is done. I'm just gonna come up and we'll do another episode in person. And
I
I want to
love that.
learn all the history from you.
Yes, we'll do
Okay,
it.
it was so good to meet you.
And you have a great day. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for joining us. And if you liked what you heard, feel free to leave us a 5-star rating on Spotify or share some of your favorite parts over on Apple Podcast. If you have feedback or suggestions for the future, you can also find me on Instagram at Cozy Rock Cabin. Looking forward to next week.